My name is Victor Fursov. I'm a research entomologist of Institute of Zoology of National Academy of Sciences in Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine. And today, with this stream, I would like to do a very interesting subject. So it's named Insects in Modern Japan. Well, very interesting, unusual subject, not in United States, not in Japan, but I would like to tell about Japan. Why? And I will explain you what's going on and how I will do it. Actually, I've been several times in Japan. I visited many cities in Japan. I was in Tsukuba. I was working in Nagoya. I visited Fukuoka. I visited Hachijojima Island near Tokyo and some other places and cities in Japan. But I was really recently inspired by a very interesting and very specific article of American entomologist, actually with Japanese origin, who published a paper about insects and nature in Japan. Well, this article already has been published in 2007, but despite that, I guess the subject will be interesting even now because the subject insects were just existing for millions of years, and actually the modern Japan is now developing so quickly, rapidly, and approach to insects and nature in Japan is really different from other countries. And I found this article of Akita Kawahara, who was in 2007 a research student of University of Maryland, and now I was searching for his name in ResearchGate social net, and I'm supposed probably he is now a researcher in University of Florida, if I'm right, because sometimes people have the same surname and I can be wrong. And he was studying Lepidoptera sphingidae family, and he published the article about insects, especially about beetles and entomology in modern Japan. So I will read this article with some probably my comments and little bit some changes, but mostly I will follow to this text because it's interesting, entertaining, and informative, and also educational. So let's go forward. As far as entomology in different countries, many people often unaware of how insects are integrated into other cultures. In Asia, insects first appeared on traditional Chinese and Japanese ornamental artwork dating before 600 AD. And during the Meiji period in Japan, it's about 1868, 1912, Mushiya, or insect shop, sold collecting equipment and seeing insects in cages, and it was really Japanese tradition. Although there are no longer insect shops that specialize in seeing insects, insects are still integrated into bustling metropolises of modern Japan. These charismatic insects regularly appear on candy wrappers and children's toys, and they are central theme to many popular video games. In fact, the modern market for insects and entomological accessories in Japan has annual sales of tens of millions of dollars. The purpose of this article and this story will be providing an overview of how insects and they are integrated into Japanese culture today, now in modern life of modern Japan. The paper and this information will be organized in 4 sections, each of which focuses on key issues pertaining to insects in modern Japanese culture. First of all, we'll talk about Japanese children and entomological equipment. Secondly, about entomological supply stories and unique equipment used by Japanese entomologists. And third, the plethora of insects collectors and personal insects collections in Japan. And fourth point, about the recent popularity of breeding and selling live beetles in Japan. So this is actually not institutional study, but there is a large community of Japanese population of insects hobbyists, enthusiasts, and the culture around them is just very, very huge. And so far, so on. What about Japanese children and insects? Let's go. Japanese children generally learn about insects from reading, taking science class, watching educational television, playing video games, or by directly observing living insects. Education focuses particularly on the life history of charismatic insects, such as butterflies, cicadas, zemi in Japanese, and large beetles, or kabutomushi in Japanese. Young boys especially develop a liking for horned rhinoceros and stag beetles, and these beetles are often reared from grubs and kept as a pets in their homes. Children in the suburbs can still find many large beetles in their natural environment, natural habitat, and they're frequently seen in summer carrying insects' nests in park. However, Japanese kids in urban areas must find an alternative for obtaining beetles. Okay, it was a small interruption in internet connection. Well, let's go. In order to support the growing need for beetles in Japanese society, some Japanese companies have sold live beetles in vending machines. Live beetles are also accessible to children through beetle petting zoos and beetle conservation programs. In response to declining population of stag beetles, for example, Yokohama developed a conservation-driven program, Stag Beetle Foster Parent Program, in which children could receive a pair of Luccanese beetles to his home over the summer. At the end of summer, the child could bring back eggs produced by the pair of these beetles, and the eggs would be returned to the park. The program was apparently so popular that park had to hold a lottery to choose the children who would foster beetles. Not only does this program help restore the declining population of Luccanese beetles in Yokohama, but it also helps educate children about beetles and about their conservation. Live charismatic beetles like stag beetles can also be acquired from Japanese department stores. Part of pet section in Japanese department stores is converted during the summer into insect corner, where different species of beetles are sold in cages, along with basic insects collecting and rearing equipment, general entomological books, plastic cages, and so on. These beetles are sold as pets, and they are displayed alongside cat toys, dog food, and goldfish. For example, a male of large horned Japanese rhinoceros beetles in Latin name Olomirina dichotoma, very common beetle, is very commonly known as a kabutomushi in Japanese. In this time, and I guess maybe with some short changes, in 2007 it costed about 400 yen, or from 400 to 800 yen. It's approximately something between 3 and 7 US dollars, while a female without horns is cheaper. Department stores also frequently sell live adults of another beetles, and for example, species of cricket-like grasshopper or orthopteran called suzumushi, the Latin name Meloimorpha japonica. Meloimorpha japonica. Males of this species, of this cricket, produce a beautiful musical call. And so this is really nice singing insects. Sold alongside suzumushi, this nice cricket, males of which produce this beautiful call. Other parts which can be regularly sold. This is, for example, bags of sand and small wooden cricket chewing blocks, which developed for these singing pets. As a child growing in Tokyo, for example, many people can go straight after school to the pet section or nearby department stores to watch live insects and read about them in children's books. Very few Japanese books that include insects portray them negatively. Most are written to teach insects, to teach kids about insect facts, and many entomological books focuses on interesting features of insects. Many educational books for children are named Zukan or illustrated guides, each of a particular subject, and typically part of a larger series, so they're very popular. Each book about insects illustrated guide is like an encyclopedia on different subjects. One volume may be on insects, another can be on trains. These encyclopedias are filled with photographs of and illustrations, and children encyclopedia or Zukan frequently include cartoon characters to help illustrate particular concepts. Children's entomological books are typically on domestic Japanese insects. For example, one of the most popular children's encyclopedia series are Shohakukan series, which has several volumes on entomology. For example, Insects Zukan or Scarab and Stags Beetles Encyclopedia, Butterflies of Japan, published in 1985, and Stag Beetles published in 2006. There are also a lot of insects entomological books about life history of familiar insects such as common butterflies. For example, cabbage butterfly, Pieris rape, or rare species such as Sasakia charonda for advanced reader. Nearly all entomological children's books, or Zukan in Japanese, include a section which helps teach children how to collect insects and make insect collection. In addition to entomological books, insects may also play a central role in many children's storybooks, similar to American classic books like the book of The Very Hungry Caterpillar of Carl, the very popular book. In the bookstores in Tokyo, many children can count dozens of different storybooks on insects for children. Boys are often found in the entomological section of a bookstore, frantically reading about insects. There are also children's books that are translated into Japanese directly from Old English, Victorian, and American entomological literature. The most popular of such books, of course, this is a 10-volume series written by French entomologist Jean-Henri Fabre, the great French entomologist who are very famous for his observations on insect behavior. The series named Souvenirs entomologiques, published by Fabre in 1879 till the 1907 has been translated to multiple Japanese publishers and now it's available for both children and for adults. Faber's books have become so popular, but in the summer of 2005, there are some books, food stories named in Japan 7-Eleven, and this is very popular 7-Eleven story. In this stories, chain gave away plastic rendition of different insects that Faber studied as a promotion to help boost sales in these convenience stores. The 8 replicas, for example, in these stories included a dung beetle or Scarabeus typhoon, rolling a large piece of dung, a carabid, Carabus auratus, capturing a snail, a sphycid wasp, Podalonia hirsuta, hunting for caterpillar. And these small gifts, these renditions were given to any customers who bought selected bottles drinks in this convenience store 7-Eleven in Japan. Can you imagine this reaction of 7-Eleven customer in other countries like United States if given a bowl of plastic dung with a beetle as a gift for purchasing a bottle of Coke? Very strange, very surprising. But this is interesting tradition which was invented and introduced in Japan. There are also special festivals in Japan which promote insect education. One of the most popular festivals during the summer is Hotaru Matsuri, the Firefly Festival. Hotaru Matsuri takes place during June and early July in many cities and towns throughout Japan, and it's usually drawn a large crowd eager to see fireflies. These festivals are held at night, typically at local city park where there is a stream. Many local vendors participate in these festivals and sell food, insect toys, and small cages containing living fireflies. Fireflies, very tiny small fireflies, which are making nice light during the evening and night time. There's usually a trail alongside a stream where fireflies fly freely, and visitors can read about life history of different species on books, on pamphlets, and on boards posted along the trail. In addition to firefly festivals, Japanese children can also observe living insects in many beetles and butterfly houses, or learn about insects on television. For example, the main Japanese television station, this is Nippon Honshu Kyoku, NHK, which is subsidiary called Kyoku Terebi, or educational television. And these television broadcast children's educational programs during weekday mornings. Each of these programs shows it's typically a 15 minutes program hosted by an animated mascot or young student. Japanese elementary school classrooms typically have a television for viewing these short programs. Topics of these shows range from biology to economics, and classes are usually scheduled to coincide with a particular subject which is broadcasting. There are several educational programs on organismal biology in which different topics are discussed each week on television, on NHK television. Episodes frequently cover the life history of familiar Japanese insects, such as cabbage butterfly, Ophiuchus rape, oil cicada, or this is Rhaptosalteria nigrofuscata, or in Japanese, zemi, very common zemi, or white-spotted Asian longhorned beetle, or very common Anoplophora malaysiatica, very common beetle. A typical grade school classroom in Japan has a cage containing amphibians, crustaceans, fish, or insects. Students working in groups and taking part in caring for these animals. For example, small caterpillars of cabbage butterflies or Pieris rape are fed by cabbage leaves, while beetles' grubs and dirt are sprayed with water on daily basis. Since these larvae are usually collected outdoors, they are occasionally parasitized by parasitoids. So far, students learn about predators, about predation and parasitism through direct observation at very young age. In Japan, many documentaries on insects are not only on television, on cable channels, or like equivalent to Discovery Channel or Animal Planet, but these documentaries are regularly shown on standard channels. And now, of course, they are online, on internet, on channel as well. Popular television quiz pertaining to entomology and manga cartoons or animation films, which often feature insect themes. Japanese animation films often feature such insect themes like Pokemon's Caterpie, which are now reached even United States. And this is Pokemon's Caterpie was influenced by life cycle of butterfly and other small Pokemons which are very popular now for children. This Pokemon resembles a caterpillar and then becomes metapod, a pupa-like character, before becoming Butterfree, a figure resembling a butterfly. Okay, animation films, quite a lot of them. They are such as Hayao Miyazaki, Nausicaa, or of a Valley of the Wind, very, very famous and appeared on 1987, quite a long time ago, and Princess Mononoke appeared in 1997, so far, long time ago, but they are popular even now in Japan and in other countries. So these animation films also include many insect conservation themes and have received global attention as the top environmental animation films. Insects also frequently appear on Japanese children's toys, costumes, and children's snacks. Toy Stories often have a section on beetles paraphernalia such as beetles puzzles and stickers, and sometimes even stories sells talking stuffed beetles hats for kids, and inflatable scarab and look-on-it partly costumes. Some children's candies come from a free plastic beetle, and there is even a Japanese candy called Mogi Mogi Kontusaishi, which is translated to Mogi Mogi insect collecting. The wrappers of this candy shows the child collecting insects. There is a psychid or bagworm moth larva, which is just shown at the top of a candy wrappers. Can you imagine a bagworm larva pictured on a wrapper of skittlers or MMMs, quite surprisingly, if it can be published in other countries and in America too. But in Japan, these features insects on candies are very popular. While war or combat video games are popular in the United States, there has been a recent surge in video games involving insects in Japan. Surprisingly, these games are not about exterminating giant bug-like alien monsters, but instead, most of them are about battles between real beetles species, breeding them and making an insect collection. One of the popular Japanese children video games is named Kontu Oya Mushi Kingu, which is translated in English as a King of Beetles, King of Coleoptera, Bug King, and it was firstly distributed by Sega Company in 2003. Mushi King or Beetles King is similar to Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat feature, which is it's involved two characters which are fighting. However, the game differs in which all characters are beetles. Each beetle resembles a real beetle species, and it's capable on particular beetle moves. For example, giant rhinoceros beetle, giant Dynastus grunty, which is found on southwestern United States, is olive brown with black spots, and it can be special moves, such as a dragon attack, or tornado throw, or bulldog. The players fights a different beetle enemy during each level until his beetle loses a battle. Due to this popularity among children, the game can also be purchased for Game Boy Advance company, which has been made into animation film, and the Mushi King or Beetle King tournaments are held as arcades throughout Japan. Mushi King popularity is growing so rapidly in Asia that Sega made Philippines, Singaporean and Taiwanese arcades versions of this software. So it's very funny. In arcade version, a card is depicting a particular leucanid or rhinoceros beetle, and it comes out of a slot once it's with a coin of a 100 yen coin or just $1 is inserted into the machine. A game mode is chosen and the game begins when the player sweeps his bar-coded card in the card reader. In addition to beetle cards, there are also skill cards, in which is used in combination with beetle cards, and it will allow the beetle to perform advanced moves. In total, there are a huge number, over 800 different beetles and skill cards. Each beetle card includes the species, scientific name, and explanation of its approximate size, habitat, and distribution. In 2 years since becoming available, about 250 million colored Mushi King beetles trading cards were sold everywhere around in Japan. 256 millions, enormous number, probably for every kid in every family. According to video game magazine Famitsu in Japan, Mushi Card was a best-selling video game for Game Boy Advance company in 2005, and it was selling 220,000 copies in 1 month. Mushi King paraphernalia such as the stuffed animated beetles and keychains are regularly sold in Japanese arcades. The video game was so popular that it inspired an international commuter airline, Japan Airlines, to decorate one of its planes with illustrations of some Mushikin main characters. That's very funny. There are also video games such as a Conto Monster Battle Master, Conto Monster Battle Stadium, both for Game Boy Advance Company. These are simulation games which involve rearing of powerful beetles and battling them. According to Nintendo Japan, Conto Monster Battle Stadium includes DNA evolution system, which allows to play on extract DNA from a beetle that is become bred to create a more powerful offspring of a beetle, and this is video game. Another children's entomological video game is a Zakontu Saishi, or in translation, bug collecting, and is designed for Sony PlayStation 2, version 2, now maybe 10 or 20. And this game differs from other video games previously described in that the goal of this game is to collect insects. The main character of this game is a 10-year-old boy named Shota, whom the player controls. When the game begins, Shota is left on an isolated island somewhere in the middle of Pacific Ocean. The island has an entomological laboratory owned by 70-year-old entomologist Mr. Takagi, and the professor of entomology informs Shota that all of his laboratory insects have escaped, and that Shota must retrieve the 300 insect species from the island. Insects that appear in the game are mainly Japanese species, but some charismatic exotic taxa are also included. With a 10-year-old female companion, the girl named Misaki, boy Shota uses a variety of entomological equipment such as aerial and aquatic nets, jars and insect sprays, and working on the island. The game even includes a lantern for attracting nocturnal insects or butterflies and moths. This game, Zakontu Saishi, is very similar to first-person shooter game named like a Doom, but instead of walking around with a gun, the player carries different kinds of nets and interchangeable collecting equipment. Insect specimens vary in size, sex, and abundance. The behavior and activity time for each species, each insect reflects the true natural history of species. Specimens brought back to the laboratory and databased into Dr. Takagi card catalog. Once databased, the player can look up to a species in the catalog and learn interesting facts about these insects, such as their natural history and distribution. For example, the player collected Bombus ardens, Apide, bumblebee, and information box reads, this species is rather similar to another bee, Xylocoppa appendiculata, but differs in that his body is more hairy and has an orange patch on the posterior tip of its abdomen. The bee is active during spring and early summer and can be found even in urban areas. So this interesting information which is given for each insect. The player can also zoom in the insect and look at it up close. If a player collects a male cicada or male orthopteron or grasshopper or cricket, the information book will often provide an oral sample of its mating call. Not only in this game educational, because it teaches not only is this game educational because it teaches children interesting facts about insects, but the player must know a little about insects' life history and behavior of insects to collect them. For example, if a player tries to collect a sting bug with an aquatic net, the hemipteron, this bug, will likely escape through large seams in the netting and fly away. The game also includes Payan, or 13-year-old assistant to Dr. Takagi. The unfriendly boy Payan is Shota rival and reveals collecting tips to Shota insects can beat Payan's bugs in one-to-one competition such as dragonfly races and beetle battles and grasshopper jumping competition. So far so good. Nintendo company has its own version of insect collecting games named Kontu Hakase or Dr. Entomologist for company Game Boy Advance, and the recently released Zamushitori Okuku, the name is translated as a Bug Collecting Kingdom, for portable Nintendo Entertainment System. Kontu Hakase or Dr. Entomologist game requires the player to collect 250 species of insect and construct a special shop or zukan. The player begins as noticed entomologist, but gradually improves his collecting skills and broadens his insect knowledge by developing entomological contacts and upgrading his collecting equipment. Another game, which is named Zamushitori Okuko, as I said, the Bug Collecting Kingdom game is similar, but differs in that the player carries a simulated zukan, which is used to identify insects and record collecting data. The player must also know the food source of each insect because he will have to feed it in it so this species can survive. This video game includes 400 insect species and contains unique features such as allowing the player to discover new species and hybridize existing species to create new subspecies. The increasing number of entomological video games available for Japanese children was developed not only to capture the children's interest to insects, but also to target parents, accordingly to development of Mushiking. The incredible access to this video game can not only be attributed to children's interest to insects, but because the parents can relate to beetles as well. Fathers remembering catching and keeping beetles when they were like kids. If Japanese parents had not learned about entomology during their formative years, they probably would not purchase these educational games for their children. It is therefore a combination of a parent's entomological experience with childhood and a plethora of available entomological resources which help educate their children about entomology in Japan. When these children become parents themselves, they're too likely to participate in their child's entomological education. This education process can contribute over generations and helps strengthen the society's overall appreciation for entomology. And natural history. Although video games on insects were not developed until recently, other resources can be available for many years in Japan. One such resource is entomological supplies. Well, entomological supplies, this is a very special subject, and I will tell about entomological supplies, which is included different nets, bags, and so entomological equipment in my second part of this video stream, because video stream will be long, so I interrupt, and I will continue to tell you stories about nature, about insects, about invertebrates on my channel. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Press like, press on the bottom subscribe, and press on the bottom bell here on the right part of a column. Just you will receive notice about my new videos. So don't forget to subscribe, and I will look forward to see you soon on my channel. And I will recharge my battery and making second part about famous and well-developed Japanese entomological equipment and entomological supplies. See you soon on my channel. Bye bye. See you soon. Good luck.